This video is about how quickly abusive people change. We'll look at why it usually takes a very long time, and also why it usually seems like it could be any second, even though that's not the case. It can seem like maybe tomorrow they'll change, maybe the next day, maybe after the next really great apology. But the reality is, it usually takes years, if ever. If you or a friend are in an abusive relationship, I hope this video helps you make the decision about whether to stay or leave. So let's start with how quickly it seems like abusive people can change. And the answer is, it often feels like they can change pretty fast. There's a few reasons that it can feel this way. One of them is abusive people like to blame people or things for their abusive behavior. They blame their stress level. They blame you. They blame their job. If they're blaming something, it can seem like if you can just change that thing, then the abusive behavior will change too. So if you buy into that excuse that they're giving you, maybe you try to lower their stress level, or you help them to feel better about their job or change jobs. Or maybe you even start to change your own behaviors towards them, like you start spending less time with your family. It's a really common thing that abusers complain about, or certain friends of yours that they don't like. It's this kind of get rid of the thing that the abuser is blaming, and that's going to solve the abuse. The second reason it can seem like the abusive person is right on the verge of changing and that it might happen soon is that they may have made a surface level apology and even changed some of their behaviors, although not all of them. For example, maybe they said sorry and they stopped doing the worst behaviors, or they're acting really nice for a period of time. That can often make it seem like there's some change happening, so maybe more change is on the way. And the third and final reason it often seems like abusive people might change soon is that we often have a feeling that they weren't always like this. Many targets of abusive relationships describe the first few months or the first few years of the relationship as not containing a lot of abuse, at least what they were aware of at the time. Because of that, it sometimes seems like the abuse is this phase that the person has only been going through for part of the relationship. So the feeling is, well, if they weren't always like this, maybe they can go back to being the way that they were before. So it feels like they might change quickly, but let's look at what an actual mental health professional had to say about how quickly abusive people really change. Let's look at two quotes from Lundy Bancroft, who spent over 15 years running treatment programs for abusive people and worked on over 2,000 cases as a clinical supervisor and a counselor. Starting with the quote on the left, he says, "An abuser, in order to make lasting changes, often needs to spend 18 to 24 months in an abuser treatment program. And that's taking it seriously, that's not dropping out, that's actually making real changes. 3 months, not enough. 6 months, not enough. Most courses, most court-required courses included, not enough time in his experience to really lead to lasting change." Now let's look at the second quote on the right. In this one, he says, "Even in a quality abuser treatment program, the majority of abusive individuals do not make lasting change and basically fail out of the program." So now let's talk about what this means about how quickly abusive people change. The quote on the left is telling us this is a years-long process, not a weeks, days, or months-long process. It's not something abusive people are going to be able to change just by having something in their environment change, or having their victim or target change their behaviors to accommodate them more. It takes years, even in a high-quality, dedicated program. It takes years, maybe even multiple years, of deep-seated mindset and thinking work about relationships, roles in relationships, controlling and possessing other people, basic mindsets like that, in order to really make lasting change. And what the quote on the right is telling us is that for the majority of people, even in a high-quality program, they are not successful. In other words, how long does it take them to change? Never. They never actually make it. It's just too hard for them to make the deep-seated changes to attitudes about relationships, control and possession of other people, and other mindsets that are driving the abusive behavior. Now, here's the most important part of the entire video. What this means for you if you or a friend are in an abusive relationship. You're likely to experience a strong sense of hope that the abusive person will change and that the change will happen soon. And the real answer is, it's almost definitely not going to happen soon. And if the abusive person is like a majority of other cases, it's probably never going to happen at all. Real change takes years due to the deep mindset changes about relationships and other people that are required. This is why literally every time I have heard someone share their story, it always ends the same way. After the abusive person promises to change and makes some initial surface level changes, the abusive behaviors slowly come back and often start to get worse. All of the other things that abusive people tend to blame, like you or your actions or the way you talk or that you don't do things well enough or their stress level or their job, you can try to fix all of those things, and none of them is going to just fix the abusive behavior in like a week or a month or 3 months. Real change takes time, and it's much more likely to be focused on the actual abusive mindsets about the relationship and other people than it is on any of these blame factors that tend to get pointed at. For more on this topic, can abusive people change, and other helpful advice and perspectives about abusive relationships, please check out the links in the channel below. Good luck with your situation, and thanks for watching.